what we see in our physical 3D world is what we're limited by. If I want to change something, it's a lot harder to do that if I'm identified as someone who's sick or identified as someone who's broke, versus thinking about the future version of who I can become, who I want to become, and letting that become who I am.
"83% of Americans identify as not very happy, which can hold you back and negatively affect your relationships and your business." On this podcast, we discuss the proven steps to happiness so you can restore balance and rekindle your joy.
Welcome to another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Today, we have Abigail Moss with us. How are you doing, dear?
I'm amazing. Thank you for having me, Brad. I'm so excited to be here.
Sweet. Well, we've had some good conversations. I think we met about 2 years ago at a kind of networking event, and we've kept in touch. And I know you're doing some amazing things, so I can't wait to hear about them. As we always do, we jump right in. So you've got a pretty powerful and fascinating story. Can you share with us your personal journey from dealing with severe depression? I think you even said suicidal and Lyme disease, to healing yourself through these alternative therapies. Tell us about that. And then what was a turning point for you?
Yeah. So for me, I became really disillusioned with the world. I'd gone down this rabbit hole of documentaries and learning about all of these things that were kind of broken in animal agriculture and our environment and just all of these really heartbreaking things. And I let it into my heart and it weighed me down in a big way. And so how I shifted that is I heard about this, I heard this interview of this guy speaking about healing his inner child through plant medicines, through ayahuasca. And I was on a plane to Peru a couple of weeks later because I just knew this is what I need in my life. This is what I need to heal. And while I was there, I was working with these Shipibo shamans who work with this beautiful medicine, and it really awakened my heart and my spirit to this world of light, of connection, of nature, this spiritual world that I didn't realize I'd been looking for, but I knew something had been missing. So once I found that, I wanted to learn how to keep that magic alive. So I studied shamanic healing, I studied hypnotherapy, I studied mind-body healing, and I really came into learning how to stand with my foot in one world of spirit and then a foot in the world of matter, in the 3D physical world. And as I was doing that, I didn't realize that I had Lyme disease. And I had this undiagnosed Lyme disease for 7 years. And I was becoming more and more fatigued. I was struggling more and more. And I decided to really just take control over my own life, into my own thoughts, into my own mind. And I started healing myself before I even knew what it was. And I got the diagnosis. And I had received this diagnosis from a doctor saying, all right, it's going to be at least 2 years until you get this under control. It'll never go away. And I said, okay, I don't believe that those are not helpful beliefs for me and where I want to be in my journey. So I didn't work with them. I went deep into my own healing and I got it under control. I got my life back within 6 months and I got my energy back. And I use these tools now to help people shift whatever's going on in their body or whatever they want to create in their life. It's just really the same principles of releasing blocks and stepping into who you're meant to be.
So how long ago are we talking about when you took that trip to Peru? How long ago was it?
It was 10 years ago, which is insane to think.
Wow. And
Yeah.
so prior to that, if I heard you right, you said you just went down this dark rabbit hole, but I doubt life was just amazing for you. And then you went down this dark rabbit hole and that triggered everything. Can you take us back a little further? Like looking back at all the healing you've done, where did it first, I don't want to say go wrong, but for lack of a better word, where did it go wrong?
Yeah, I feel like I was looking for something my whole life. There always felt like there was something missing, like I was trying to find who I am. And it felt like there was something just beyond the veil, like that I couldn't quite grasp, but I knew there was something out there. And my husband and I had moved out into the suburbs from downtown. We were pretty young at that time, and I started becoming more isolated, and it just gave me the space to go down and learn more about the world, learn more about what was going on. And I think part of why it broke my heart so much is because I had all this pain in my heart already that I hadn't processed, that I hadn't worked through. And the mind just does an incredible job at blocking that away until we're ready to deal with it. And so learning about what this pain in the world was like a catalyst that cracked open my heart. But inside of there was all of this heaviness, this stuck emotion, these beliefs, all this stuff that I needed to release. And I needed to do it quickly because it was really, like you had touched on, I was really depressed and I had suicidal ideation. And I just knew that it wasn't me and I needed to let that go. Yeah.
So was this from were these created in childhood, like early childhood?
So some of them were in childhood, yes. I'm pretty woo. So a lot of it for me was actually past life work and really just healing and releasing all of these emotions and past experiences that I carried with me that I hadn't even really remembered or realized it was coming from these places. I just had this profound, deep emotions and sadness within me that I needed to release.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have heard that 5 years ago, I'd have been like, "You're crazy!" Like, I'm turning this off right now. But now, I study Joe Dispenza. I had Bruce Lipton in there too. He's another great one. Joe Dispenza talks, through epigenetics, they now know the science that trauma actually can pass through your genes. Now, that's not a reason to be like, "Woe is me and I'm screwed," because even if it does pass through your genes, you can heal it. And Joe Dispenza and many other people have proved that. You said something earlier. You said that we have a tendency to block it out until we're ready to face it. But do we ever really block it out, or are we just blocking it out from the conscious?
I think it's a really great point. We're blocking it out consciously, but we're living with it in our body every day. So we may not understand why, but it's showing up as a trigger, or it's showing up as fatigue or some kind of physical issue. But it's really, I find, about learning how to access that part of the subconscious mind so we can understand what is actually going on here. Where is this actually coming from? And from there, you can actually shift and release it.
Yeah, I heard someone say recently, if we can just show our mind that we're no longer locked in the trauma from the past. But the problem is most people, including myself, didn't know that the trauma from the past or the childhood programming was negatively affecting my life. I was just like, no. Couple marriages that didn't work out, and I use weed and alcohol. Who doesn't? My kids have some issues. Who doesn't? And it wasn't until I gained awareness that, oh my gosh, my subconscious was literally driving the bus, and I was in the back seat. The kid was driving the bus, and the adult was in the back seat, bouncing up and down the road.
Yeah, most of the beliefs that run the show behind the scenes in our subconscious are formed by the time we're 10 years old. And so we're running this operating system of these beliefs that we formed when we were 3, 5, 6. And so it's really helpful to update them with an adult perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think a lot of it's around fear and safety too, right? We didn't feel safe as children, and now we create our own safety. But because our subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between yesterday or 30 years ago, you're still that little 6-year-old kid thinking things are unsafe. I think that drives so much, even shutting down in a relationship. I think it goes back to, if I'm my authentic self, like I was when I yelled at mommy and told her I hated her and she withdrew her love. Well, if I'm my authentic self in this relationship, then my spouse may not love me anymore. So I'm just going to shut down. That's what I did. And that was a little boy in me saying, there's danger here. There's literally danger, because if my parents detach from me, then I'm screwed. I can't live. But again, you don't think that as a child, but your primitive brain does, and it drives all of your behavior as a child and as an adult.
Absolutely. I think that's the gift that our spouses and our partners give us, is we get to push all of each other's buttons. But my husband and I did a lot of work on this, and we worked with an amazing couples therapist. And she always says, you can't unmarry yourself, and you can't. So the gift that we give each other is the ability to recognize these parts, these younger parts of ourselves that are coming up asking to be healed. So I think that's really what a trigger is at the end of the day. It's a part of you that's wanting to be healed and reintegrated.
Right. So we get to look at that. I kind of gamify it now. When I get upset, I immediately go to, this is an opportunity for me to grow. And instead of run from it like I used to and smoke the weed or drink or yell or shut down, I'm like, no way. I want to get to the point of true liberation. And I think part of that is not having any person or situation be able to negatively affect you. And some people might be like, that's crazy talk, but I'm getting closer and closer. I've got a long way to go, but I'm way closer than I was 5 years ago. So you can do the same thing. It's just your body's telling you and your mind telling you when you feel negative emotion that you've got to work on something.
Yes. And it's a practice, and it's an imperfect practice. And I get reactive multiple times a day, but the difference is how quickly I come back into awareness, into being an observer, into questioning, what could I have done differently there? What did this habit or pattern or trigger, if it could speak, what would it say? And then I can start understanding what that part of me actually needs, and I can start doing different behaviors that are going to move me towards the life I actually want, instead of this unconscious conditioning playing out.
Yes. So you and I both studied RTT, which stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy, which is a combination of several different things. And then you've gone on to do shamanic training and somatic healing. How do all these different modalities kind of complement each other, and what unique benefits do they offer to those seeking healing?
Yeah, so I've kind of taken all of these and I've sort of fused them into my own method called the Medicine Within method. And I feel like every part is essential: the body, the mind, the spirit. Shamanic healing was very powerful for the spirit. So connecting with the soul or the higher self, it's the witnessing consciousness and the part of you that's eternal beyond this body. And so that's where we really are able to access the vision for what we're really meant to be doing in life and what feels really aligned and purposeful. And that's the part of us that has the blueprint for the life that we're meant to be living in this world, and the capacity to evolve and expand. And then the mind, I feel like Marissa's Rapid Transformational Therapy, learning how the language of the mind works, what the mind needs, how to change the mind is essential, because we do have these personalities that they can feel locked in place. We can identify that's just who I am, but it doesn't have to be. So when you learn how to work with the mind, you can shift the operating system that you're experiencing your life with. And when you do that, you shift your life. It's a mere reflection of what's happening inside. And then the body is a place where, if you can access, as you learn how to access and connect with the body and the language of the body, that's where all of the stuff is stored. That's where all of the emotions get stuck. That's where all the past experiences are. So when you can release that from a physical level, it's not just theory. It's not just talking about it. We're actually shifting and releasing that from the body, from your energy. And that's where really, really deep and lasting change happens.
Why do you think so few I don't know what the word I'm looking for, the modalities that most people, traditional, that's the word I'm looking for, traditional therapy. Why do you think traditional therapy, so much of this stuff isn't included?
I think it's just, hypnosis has been around for a long time, but I think we followed very specific schools of thought, and it takes time to change that. It's a huge paradigm shift. I know there are some therapists who do somatic work, who do subconscious work, but a lot of it is just one element, and it's often the tip of the iceberg. And it absolutely has a place. People just need to talk about stuff to process it consciously. But talking about it alone is very rarely enough to actually fully release it out of your nervous system, out of your subconscious, out of your spirit. I've worked with people often who've been to therapy for 10 years, and they say, we shifted more in one session than they did in 10 years of therapy. And so I think there's just an open mind is an important piece of this work, because this has always been the way throughout science, throughout therapy, throughout discoveries. We have this system, a way of doing things, and it's familiar and comfortable. It takes time to open up to new possibilities and new ways of doing things.
That was my experience. In one 3-hour session, I got more than 3 decades of therapy and probably 50 plus marriage counseling sessions. So
yeah.
Abby, how do you guide your clients to use manifestation as a tool to create the life that they desire? And what are some common misconceptions about manifestations that you encounter?
Yeah, I think manifestation is really, it's about becoming intentional and becoming a creator of your life, and realizing that you aren't limited by your external circumstance, that you are actually powerful. And so it's about taking responsibility for yourself, for your thoughts, for your feelings, for your actions, because that's going to govern your body, your biology, what's happening towards health or illness is going to govern what you see in opportunities and how you attract wealth and opportunities to yourself. So it's really about becoming that intentional creator. And I think a big blind spot when it comes to that is slipping into this belief that what we see in our physical 3D world and our circumstance is what we're limited by. So if I want to change something, it's a lot harder to do that if I'm identified as someone who's sick or identified as someone who's broke, versus thinking about the future version of who I can become, who I want to become, thinking about that and letting that become who I am and moving forward and taking action from that person. That's where life around you shifts to become a match to what's happening inside of you.
Yeah, I know I don't do a great job of it, but I read one of Joe Dispenza's book 6 months ago, and I created a journal had like 5 pages of manifestations. And he says, I am sure that's how he begins it. I'm sure that my kids are thriving and have a purposeful life. I'm sure that I live in a 5-bedroom home on the water in Florida. So I don't do these enough, but I need to do them more, because I really believe, again, 5 years ago, I've been like, that's crap, but it's so true. I mean, now they've proved it through science too, that you can actually change the makeup of your genes by thinking in a different way. That's why placebo drugs work.
Exactly. Exactly. That's just it, is like we've become hypnotized into believing that the 3D world is all that we can have, and to becoming materialists. But we are creators of our own life, and we do that through the mind, through the quantum field. And that's where we shift into a new timeline, into a new reality. And I've done it myself. I've seen lots of other people do it. There's tons of case studies. I love Joe Dispenza's work. He does lots of medically documented studies of people transforming their body through the power of shifting their focus and their intention. And that's what I help people do as well.
So tell the listeners, what can they start doing today in terms of manifestations that could help change their life?
So it's about becoming conscious of what's unconscious. So if there's any area of your life that you're not happy with, then that means that there's something going on within you, within your beliefs and the unconscious programming and habits that you've developed around those beliefs that is not aligned with the life you want to create. So I would start with becoming an observer of moments when you get triggered, or moments when you're playing out these unconscious patterns, and look at, okay, what happened there that caused me to go unconscious? And I would ask myself, when a trigger comes up, or if there's a situation in your life that you don't like, I would ask, if this symptom could talk, or if this situation can speak, what would it say? And it can be like a meditation. You can just open your mind and allow an answer to appear. If you're subconscious, it will bubble up. You don't need to go digging for it. It will come. And that can give you a lot of understanding and insight into how something is trying to serve you. And once you learn that, you can learn a lot about what you need and what you need in any given situation to begin changing your life.
And then from there, is it a process of like reading or writing or both, these things that you want, like on a daily basis or multiple times a day? Or how do you generally guide your clients?
Yeah. So when I work in in Sacred and Unleashed in our membership, we come together because I find that the group container is incredibly powerful, because it's the shared intention, shared energy. It magnifies the energy of the space. And then we work with divine consciousness. We work with intention, and I guide people through rapidly releasing these blocks from their energetic field, their mind, their body, and stepping into a vision of who they want to become, of who they're meant to be. But you can practice this instead of thinking about again and again and again what is not working. Focus your thoughts and imagine a vision for your life and what you want your life to look like. You can journal that. What would be a perfect day in your life? You can make notes of what are the things that are different, and meditate on that. Meditate for 10 minutes every day on who you want to be, and the resistance will come up. The personality will try to keep you safe in what's familiar and known, but you just have to fight those thoughts that say, this isn't working, this is not going to work, this is silly, just take today off, just go back to doing that other thing that we know. The mind will try to excuse itself and go back to what it knows, but you have to continue holding that vision and that faith of what's possible for you. And I find it's really powerful when you surround yourself with people who also believe that anything is possible for you, because they're helping you to hold that frequency.
We mentioned a couple of times subconscious thinking. If you are wondering if you have subconscious limiting beliefs that are holding you back or creating negative behavior in life, just go and take our 3-minute self-love quiz. It's only 12 questions at unlocklimitlessyou.com, and you can start your path, start this journey that could forever change your life. You just have to know, you'd have to start. All change begins with awareness. Without awareness, it's really hard to change. So Abby, can you share, I know you've worked with a ton of clients over the years. Does one client come to mind in terms of a success story where, using the methods that we're talking about, someone had some, just massive change?
Yeah, I was working with Davina, who, when we started working together, she had experienced a lot of childhood trauma, as many of us do, struggling a lot with like anxiety, with depression, just wanting to feel at home in her body, just wanting to feel a sense of peace and ease. And so we started working together, started practicing these techniques. And in this process, she not only healed and released these triggers, but she also realized that she had a medicine inside of her that was meant to be shared. And over our time together, her and her whole family moved from Canada to Costa Rica, built this beautiful dream home that's become a retreat center. They're now breathwork facilitators. They now guide these transformational plant medicine journeys. And she had to heal, but that was just the entry point to stepping into who she truly was and claiming her power and her medicine. And that medicine's needed in the world. So what really needed to happen was for her to step into her truth. But the pain, that's just the pressure to push you into the work of shifting out of the old identity and doing the work to become who you truly are.
Wow. Yeah, I have a friend building a house in Costa Rica, and I've thought about doing the same. And I love Costa Rica. I've been there a couple of times. I'd love to connect with her and see what she's up to. That's awesome.
Yeah. I connect you guys.
So for someone who's listening right now and feels stuck or unable to move forward in life, we've talked about some things, but what first steps would you recommend that they take to start creating a better life and reality for themselves?
I think just do one thing every day that makes you feel better, that makes you happier. Just one thing, like make it an essential part of your life that you're going to move towards joy every day, and don't judge what that is or what it looks like. Maybe you need to go out and go to an ecstatic dance class where you just dance in the way your body wants to move, or just spend more time walking in nature, or listen to inspiring podcasts like yours, or, just whatever it is you need to do. Just go do that one thing that you feel excited about or that lights you up. And that's going to create more and more of a sense of connection to your heart, to who you are authentically. And as you do that, it's going to draw you more and more into your inner awareness and into your own being.
Yeah, you mentioned isolation earlier. The last podcast I did with Chris Arnold, I asked him, was there anything he wanted to share at the very end? And that was the one thing. He sat and pondered for a second, and he goes, yeah, if you're isolated, get out of the isolation. Like, it's the worst thing that you can do. We were meant as human beings to be in a tribe, right? To be around people. And unfortunately, the more connected we've become in this world of digital and Uber Eats and Uber, the more disconnected we become. And it's created a lot of issues for people.
Yeah, I think it's this process. I think the journey of stepping out of that is a process of opening the heart back up. When we go through this pain, the heart wants to close down and protect itself. And I can't, I don't trust you. I don't know about you. I'm just going to be alone because that's safer. But this is a journey of awakening through the heart. And when you do that, it's not just about reconnecting with friends. It's about reconnecting with your own soul, who you are authentically, and with life, and just feeling alive. And that's just a step-by-step journey that gets deeper and deeper and more beautiful as you do it. It takes courage, though.
Yeah, but what in life that is good isn't hard, right? And this is a journey that it takes courage. But you mentioned earlier that you've had breakthroughs, and I think with the client success story you mentioned that in one session, you've had clients have breakthroughs that they couldn't get in 10 years of therapy. What actually happens in that session? Like, what's the magic that you're doing that isn't happening in these other places?
Well, definitely going deeper than just talking about it, but we're going into the subconscious. We're going into the energetic field. We're connecting with spirit. I'm connecting with their higher self, and they're stepping into who they are truly and authentically. And, the conscious mind or thinking mind is just the very tip of the iceberg. And a lot of us have identified with our personality, but we go so much deeper with that. We're these eternal beings. We have this consciousness that we experience life through. And the subconscious mind remembers every experience you've ever had, and you can drop into that place and become and know yourself, awaken to part of who you are and a deeper part of life. And so as we drop into that place, people remember the power that they have. So it's a lot of bringing beliefs that have been held in their mind and body to the surface, challenging if those are true. And it's a lot of stepping into the frequency of who they are when they are embodied, when they are fully healthy, when they are doing what they're meant to be doing. It's bringing that into their mind and body and feeling that and experiencing that. And, you touched on earlier, Brad, is this feeling of, I know I have this. It's really about coming into a place of knowing, and you get that knowing when you know yourself. So it's really, I'm like a guide helping people come home to who they actually are.
Yeah, disconnection is a huge issue, a huge part of all of our issues, right? I can remember before my actual 3-hour weekend transformation, they did some pre-coaching. And I remember talking with this lady, her name is Carrie Mon. And I said to her, she's like, what do you want to achieve? And I was like, if you can just make me like I am when I'm high on marijuana all the time, like I will just love you. And she was like, she said something that was a huge shifting from place in my life. She was like, Brad, you are that person. You are that outgoing, not caring about other people judging you, affectionate, laughing, singing and dancing in front of people. Like that's who you are at your core. You just have these filters that you've put up on your heart from the pain that you've gone through. And I was like, oh my gosh. And now 3 years later, I am that person without the marijuana. It's so amazing. And you can have that same thing too. Anyone can.
That's exactly it. And that was my journey with ayahuasca. I really wanted to connect with spirit and heal in a deep and profound way and keep that alive. And the next 7 years was a journey of learning how to do that just through consciousness and intention and breath. And now that world is it's a part of my world. And it's something that's everyone's birthright, is to know who they truly are and to know themselves on a deeper level, on a much deeper level than where we often go in day-to-day life.
So what do you do today to help people?
Right now, I have my Sacred and Unleashed membership, and that's a place where we come together with shared intention and energy. We connect with spirit, with the divine, and we rapidly clear the blocks to whatever it is you want to create in your life. And so people are there focusing on healing their body, on creating more wealth, on manifesting more fulfillment and purpose. But it's the same process each time. And so that's what I'm focused on right now, because I can help a large group of people really efficiently that way. And then the group really inspires and supports each other through all of the different shares and the shared energy coming together. So yeah. And then I have for you guys that free gift where you can access 30 days for free, and you can come and just experience the power of the group totally free and cancel anytime if you'd like.
And how do people get there?
So you can go to mindbodyfree.com/30 days. And that'll take you to show you all the information on the site, and you have a link where you can sign up there.
Awesome. And do you do like calls or anything during the week or?
Yeah, we do weekly live calls. And so those are recorded in case you can't make it live, but there's also a whole bunch of previously recorded classes and workshops and more workshops coming up later this summer. But yeah, each week we come together, we do combinations of breath work to work with the body. I found breath is the fastest way to shift and alchemize energy in the body, to shift your consciousness. We do these powerful activations and clearings and learning tools for how to connect with who you are authentically and find out, working with the body, what it is that is actually right for you and what steps to take to get there. So yeah, we're having a lot of fun in there right now. It's been beautiful.
That's awesome. This has been great. What would you like to say, if anything, as you're wrapping up here?
I think what's coming to mind is, this may sound funny, but magic is real. I feel like, for me anyway, I was looking for something deeper, a deeper sense of connection, a deeper sense of aliveness, for something that felt like it was missing. And when I discovered that, it was through plant medicines, but that just opened up the door to really understanding a part of consciousness and myself and life that's available to all of us. And it's really just a process of releasing the conditioning that we've received for hundreds of years in our society about, being materialists in the 3D world. But when you go deeper, when you look for the answers within yourself, then more magical, powerful things happen than you could have imagined possible. So yeah, be open to that.
Look at yourself, right? If someone's watching this, listening to this, and they're highly, severely depressed and they're suicidal, it gets better. Just have hope And you are a shining example of, stepping one foot in front of the other and just taking that first step. And the first step today could be reaching out to Abby. It could be reaching out to me. But just know that no matter how bad things are, it wasn't meant to be this way in your life. You were meant to be, joyous and live a life of purpose and have deep connections with others. And if you don't have that right now, it's not your fault. It's just you're trying to protect yourself from pain of likely early childhood. So if we can be of assistance, let us know.
Yeah. And that pain is just the entry point to alchemize and step into who you really are on a much deeper level.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Abby. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sure. And that concludes another episode of How to Be Happier for Entrepreneurs. Remember, I need your help to reach 1 million people so that they can live the transformation that Abby lives. So if you like this podcast, please share it, please rate it, please review it. Anything you can do to get the word out, I would really appreciate it. And until next time, love heals all.
Hit subscribe if you don't want to miss out on more life-changing content. And if you're struggling, you don't have to. Go to bradchandler.com/contact. There, you can join the Facebook community of like-minded entrepreneurs, and you'll see a button to schedule your freedom and happiness call. See you on the next episode.